been tuning in to these discussions for the last 3 months, I don't know if there's a better guest that we could have, because those books are on the point on the topics that we talk about here every week. So I'm super charged up to have you, Lisa. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I don't know how we haven't met earlier because of everything that you do. But, you know, I started out in design and then became an acute care designer and did a lot of work in the hospitals, and then really had a desire to impact the last years of somebody's life instead of on average 3 days. And so I went into senior living, and that was over 25 years ago. Worked for a national provider, private pay assisted living, and then we did memory care. And about, I'd say 22 years ago, they were sold. And I was asked to start my own company. And so I've been blessed to work all over the world, have a fantastic team, and work with tons of different great clients. And then what I saw in the first book was that I go to a lot of these think tanks and futuristic, you know, symposiums, and the technology that was out there, senior living wasn't adopted. You know, we care about the individual, but we weren't real tech savvy. And I saw it coming down the road, and saw that Best Buy and Home Depot was getting into it. So I did the shot across the bow and wrote The Future is Here, Senior Living Reimagined. And that was about 5 years ago. And then
wow. So you wrote that book 5 years ago. Okay. Well, yeah. And well, I'm interested in your thoughts on COVID-19, because that has sure accelerated probably some of the things that you included in that book.
Most definitely. And then I had the opportunity to move my 92-year-old grandmother with dementia, Alzheimer's, and my parents in with us. So we had 4 generations living in one home. And I really got to kind of practice what I preached. And I put in a lot of technology, had a lot of failures, also had some design things. And I got a lot of questions from my mom's friends and other people. So I wrote Hive, The Simple Guide to Multigenerational Living. And out of that, what I found was a lot of the products that we put into senior living, people in their homes didn't have. So we created Best Living Tech so that people could go online and buy products that, you know, they should have access to. And then lastly, and this actually came out of seeing the book sales, baby boomers were buying Senior Living Reimagined, which was for providers and owners. And so I wrote Boom, which really is a combination. It's an update of The Future is Here, and then it also has Hive in it, but then we also talk about gamification and AR and VR and pets. I did the largest marijuana study for baby boomers out there, so survey. So we kind of mash it all up in Boom. And, you know, I'm kind of like the irritated oyster. I make pearls because I'm irritated about something. So it's not like I have this great vision. It's more that I see something and I'm like, oh, we should do something about that.
Well, and what's great is that you're sharing your experiences with other people. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that don't, you know, have the ability to sort of articulate it and get it out there to help other folks. And so, wow. So this, so Boom, your most recent book, that when did that publish?
That came out last year, and it's an Amazon bestseller, and we're putting it out there because the cover that I have that I thought was cool is not so cool, I guess. so it's a little bit more techy, and so they're going to redo it so it's a little bit more senior friendly. And then we're also re-releasing, because it's over 400 pages. We're releasing mini chapters so that if you just want to know about pets, you're going to be able to have that option. If you just want to know about smart housing options or aging in place or Alzheimer's and dementia, you know, or gamification, or marijuana, CBD and marijuana. So that way you have the little tiny 50 to 80 pages kind of Cliff Notes versions.
Excellent. All right. Well, this is great, and we can talk about a lot of things today, and I know that our audience is going to give us questions and topics to talk about. But what are some of the things that are kind of like on top of mind for you, especially with the COVID-19? Like, if for our audience, what are some of the things that you really want folks to know about?
Well, I think the first thing is that I feel incredibly empathetic towards my senior living community. I think we've been given a horrible rap. I mean, folks are doing a tremendous job, and our frontline workers, and everybody's talking about the hospital workers, and I love that. I have family members that work in a hospital. But people have no idea what the senior living caregivers and administrators and marketers and owners are doing. And they really are taking care of the residents without visitation. They're getting a bunch of flack for it. The news media has really been horrible to them. And so, first of all, I want to put out there that thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you do. I think that the next thing is that we really need to balance trying to keep people safe from depression and isolation. You know, my grandparents were 99 and 100 and then 96. And what I would always hear from them of why they didn't want to go into senior living was because I'd rather, you know, eat what I want to do and have the quality of life I want and die in the next year or die in the next month and be happy than live another 5 years and not be able to see my family or have my fried green peppers or whatnot. And I think we get so in the mindset of protection and caring for their physical that we forget that most of these folks have lived an unbelievable life. They're ready. And the best thing that we can do is help them to be connected. And lately I've been talking about the masks. And, you know, what we've done is we've isolated everyone from smiles.
Good point. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is, you know, when you smile at a senior or they're smiling back at you, you can connect. And that's a lot easier to see than tiny little movements in the eyes. The other thing that we need to recognize is so many seniors have hearing loss, even if they don't wear a hearing aid. And they read lips, my dad did for a long time. And when you take away that visual,
Hmm.
it's impossible. So they're self-isolating just because they can't even understand. So
Yeah.
even if you know, aren't trying to have them isolate, they are because they might not understand. So, you know, those would be the first things that I would say is that we really need to balance the protection and how we're doing it. I mean, I've been researching and getting the clear masks and seeing, but apparently they don't meet the code that we need to have.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're kind of open on the side because I think care workers should be mandated to have clear.
Absolutely. You know, I tell you what, I I hope we have a long relationship, and I'd love as you do the research on those clear masks. When you were talking about the smiles, like the thing that I always share with the audiences that I speak to is that if you want to look younger, you got to smile. Okay, and that's not so easy because we get a smile on our face because we have a sense of purpose, but you know, you bring up two very valid points is that the importance of, you know, when we come into somebody's room or when we're helping somebody and we're smiling, and then also the hearing loss. And, you know, what these masks are going to do, it's going to minimize people faking it, because a lot of
Yeah,
times people fake it when they see your lips moving and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, but they don't hear anything that you say. So
you are
hopefully this
100%
is
right.
an emphasis for people to get those hearing aids so that they can communicate better.
Well, I
Um,
think I could actually, I'll lead in right there on one of the things that I think is so important is that as designers and owners, and I think someone was chatting that there is a mask, so please send me that and put it in the chat. Um, as we're creating environments that are more hard surface so that we can clean them, the acoustics are so much worse.
mm,
So it makes it even more difficult to hear. Some of the things that we can do is we can do induction looping technology, which connects directly to a hearing aid. And that's fantastic. It's pretty inexpensive. The other thing is this is Levio, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's like they actually made these for me. I don't have hearing loss. My dad does. He's like deaf in one ear, but by the time you put it in here, you can't even see it. It's so tiny. And the VA actually specifies this, and it's the Best one that I know of. The neat thing about it is it translates 27 different languages.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So how many of our caregivers are from different countries? The
Yeah.
other thing that it does is it has fall detection.
Oh, now okay, what is that? It's Livio,
Livio. Yeah.
L-E-V.
Livio, I think. And I can give you stuff for the show notes that can get sent out to everyone.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So that we don't worry about capturing everything, because it'll be,
Yep.
so it has fall detection, it has noise canceling. It can also, it tells how much steps that you're doing and motivates you.
Hmm.
So it's a really neat device.
Now,
And
is that excuse me,
yeah,
is that considered an assisted listening device or is that a hearing aid?
it's
So,
a hearing aid. It's a hearing aid. And that's
okay,
part of my next kind of challenge is that I think that if somebody wants a hearing aid or an assisted living listening device, they should be able to get it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't be limiting something. It's not if somebody wants a knee brace and they want to go to, the CVS or Walgreens to get one, they get one. I don't know why we're so caught up in the fact that we, have to have something that it's not cancer.
Yeah.
you know so I find when I go out to a restaurant that it's really hard to hear. Now, one of the great things that you can do is if you have earbuds and an iPhone, you can set the iPhone on a table and connect them to your earbuds, and you can hear the conversation a lot better.
That's a great thing. It's so fun. Somebody said to me the other day, part of the hearing aid issue and part of all the aging product issue is the stigma associated with it. And so, so often, oh, I don't want to get a hearing aid. I don't want anybody to see me that. Meanwhile, every teenager is out there walking around with earbuds in nonstop. So why not create a hearing aid
Yeah,
that looks like earbuds? And but
that's
I love that
really it.
that hack in terms of how we could, oh, I love it. Like the product that you just demonstrated there, that could be beneficial to all of us regardless of what our age is. And so if we all start walking around with something like that in our ears, when we
Right.
grow older, it's not going to have that stigma.
100%. And then we're not turning up the music too loud. You can integrate it with your phone, so that works well that way. And before COVID, I traveled extensively. I would have loved to have understood what someone was saying at a restaurant instead of struggling, or me getting in the taxi cab or Uber. I mean, I was in India and China and, Italy and Germany and all over, and Cuba, even, well, not now, but, I was all over. And you do have a sense of being like a senior, right? Where I can't understand, I can't hear, and it's stressful. It really is stressful on your body when you're trying to figure out how to ask to go to the restroom, or order the right thing. I think COVID has hopefully made the general public more empathetic to what it's like for seniors to be trapped in a place, trapped maybe by physical ability, maybe by mental, but not being able to get out. And I heard so many folks saying, I'm losing track of my days. I don't know what I ate for lunch or if I ate lunch. What we often think is dementia or Alzheimer's related is often just routine that's, numbing.
Yep. And we're all, yeah, I say that we're all getting a taste of what it's like to truly age in place or live in a community in this experience. Most of us are in the same place all day,
Mm-hmm.
limited activity, limited contact, and you're all excited about what are we making for dinner tonight. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
and I think that is going to be one of the things that, because the general public now has more empathy, that we're going to come up with some super creative solutions here down the road.
I
Well,
believe so. And I also think that, I'm a Gen Xer, so we don't really count, right? There's the boomers, I'm just borderline. And then you have the millennials and the rest. I think the millennials care so much for their grandparents. It's unbelievable. I know when my grandparents were older, my parents were like, well, they're going to die. Everybody dies. It was like a kind of casual thing. And it's a season of life where the millennials are like, wait a second, I got to protect my grandparents. I want them around. And it's a beautiful thing because I think it's different than what I've seen before.
Yeah, no, great. So I love that tech that you showcased, and any other ideas, that would be great. But you'd mentioned that you've got a design firm.
Mhm.
What are some of the things pre and post COVID that you're sort of thinking about as far as like design elements?
I am so glad you asked. So I love acronyms. If I've read any of my books, you'll see that I love it. I think it's probably because otherwise I have trouble learning. So it makes it easier for me. So our team for the last couple months has been really researching the top tech that's out there. And what we believe is that there should be a safe family visitation space. So how do we make that? Because you're seeing people doing the drive-bys or the porch visits or the window visits, and that's fantastic. I mean, my husband owns a private senior, it's a memory care home called Kemper House, and they're doing the window visits. And it's wonderful, but what happens when it rains? What happens when it's cold or it's too hot? Like, we're not really thinking this through because everybody thought it was going to be over.
Right. These are
So,
temporary solutions.
yes.
And yeah, so
So what we're doing is the first thing on safe is space planning. How do we social distance? How do we space plan pass? How do we take dining and make it so they can still dine together and separate out all the tables and make it safe for them, but still be able to eat together instead of being quarantined in their rooms, which a lot of people were. Folks don't realize that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is air quality. And the CDC has been all over the board. It's not on surfaces, it is on surfaces. It's in the air, it's only 6 feet. Well, there's a little bit more research coming out there that it really actually might be in the HVAC systems. So what do you do? So there's a couple of technologies. One is doing light, UV light. That's pretty expensive. You can't have anyone in the room when you do it. And then if you put things on like the vents, then you see this like blue glow or whatever around it. And you have to treat all of the units. So that one, I love it, but there's so many hard things to it. It's really not a viable for me. The other is a technology called iWave technology. And what it does, it seems really kind of generic. It looks like a little motor with a couple little clips on it, almost like a jumper for your car. And they attach that to each HVAC system. We just had a client that is doing their entire building, and it was relatively inexpensive, and it weighs down the particles. So what happens is COVID, C. diff, mold, smells from maybe urine and different things all get weighted down and trapped in the filter.
Yeah.
And that it's awesome because when you think about it, why did cruise ships kind of have a worse go of it? Well, it's like Legionnaires. I think it's because of the air. Why do hospitals not have a worse go of it when they're the ones that have all the cases? Everybody they're treating. Well, when I was in the hospital, our air in the hospital is very clean. So I think we need to learn from that and move forward because in senior living, we really haven't done anything with the air quality. We treated it more of as a residential model. So
Yeah, it's an apartment building that just so wow.
that's part of it. There's another machine called Beyond Eris, and that doesn't get COVID, but it cleans a lot of different things out. And then there's some new products out there called Disinfectant Shield. And I know you can do the peroxide spray, which doesn't hurt furniture, but most of the stuff people are doing is using Clorox, which kills, it's going to destroy all furniture and wood products. But Disinfectant Shield actually is a mechanical kill instead of a chemical, and it encapsulates COVID and then kills it for 28 days. So you can come in and spray. Peroxide lasts about 24 hours, I think. This will last multiple days. So that's a very cool thing. So on the safe methodology, we've got, social distancing and space planning. We've got air quality, but we also have acoustics, and we talked about that. So how do we use induction looping technology, little softer materials that can still be cleaned, and making sure that people have hearing aids or clear masks. So that's where we're at on that. The
That's great.
next letter is F, which is furniture and finishes. You've got to be able to clean them. And Qualu has a great piece. They have the only certified Clorox cleaned furniture. So you can wipe it down with Clorox and it's not going to hurt it at all. Now, the fabrics are still, iffy, but where everybody touches, on the arms, on the back of the chair, on the legs, and it'll inhibit growth. So Chillowitch has a flooring material that's a little soft that helps with acoustics, but you can also clean it with the Clorox products. So how do we do the floor, the walls? CoraGuard has some wall protection, as does InPro. So how do we make that environment so that we can clean it so that it's safe? And then last is effective technology. This doesn't matter unless we communicate. So what we're doing is we're creating an outside entrance into a room that's split. So the family comes in from the outside, goes into the room. There's a glass wall and some furniture. On the other side are the residents that come in. And then Connected Living is a great company. They use Alexa. You can play games with each other. You can text, watch videos, share photos. So how are we connecting to make sure? Because in my mind, that's the most important part.
Absolutely. Man, great overview. And once again, you're going to compile these resources that you mentioned, and I'll send that out to everybody with the recording and the chat transcript. Yeah, you really touched on a lot of stuff, and the fact that we've got to think outside of the box and reinvent, what we thought was senior living, before January 2020. And unfortunately, I think this is going to be an additional expense for a lot of providers, but it's going to pay off dividends, because just imagine how much easier it's going to be to communicate with those families that are interested in your community or your home care operation, if you're utilizing some of these things. I tell you what, the questions are coming in fast and furious. Okay. So let me, how about we address a few of these, and then, sure. But I'm really like, anything that you want to share with our audience,
okay. I got some other things I can show you.
That's
so
awesome.
Let's get some questions.
Well, one thing on the masks, Beverly Bugos says, that's why Zooming is so great. You don't have to wear masks. And it really is the truth.
Is. But I have to say, it's stressful getting ready for this stuff. I had no idea what I looked like, even speaking on stage, but staring at yourself, you're like, oh, my teeth are crooked. Oh, my head's a little lopsided. I didn't realize my shoulder was like this. So, you're really changing so much about how you see yourself.
Well, to your point, and this is a good topic for everybody, because a lot of people on the call are doing these Zoom calls. The first couple of weeks that I was doing this, it was very difficult because I couldn't see the facial expressions of the audience. And I used to always kind of play off of that. It's sort of like I'm talking to myself in the mirror. It's crazy.
I know.
But it's one of those muscles that the more you do it, the more you practice, and then it becomes normal. So let's see. John Butterfield says, I'd be interested in what is the opinion of the guest regarding birdsong and related tablet services like GrandPad and things of that nature. What are some of the strengths and weaknesses that you see of those tablet products?
So I love them. I think they're fantastic. I think we get real caught up in some specific items. And what we don't want to do is, for instance, if you have an iPhone, so I don't know if everybody in the chat can throw up how many of you folks have an iPhone.
Well, here, let me do a poll. Yeah, okay. I'll do a poll while you're just keep on talking. Yeah.
Okay. So what you find is whatever you have or whatever you use becomes your prejudice or bias. And you really don't know all the other things that are out there. When we do specific items, then we sometimes limit what are really cool other things that we can do. And then if one person's not on that same platform, it makes it really difficult. So, this is, a product, I'll just show you right here, called Loop. And Google has, certain things like this, but what this does is you can share in video chat, and you have your own channels, and the pictures will loop. Hold on, I'm getting a survey, so I'm going to answer it.
Oh, no,
Oh, wait a second. I have another brand. Wow, I can tell that you must. Oh, I can't vote, so I'll just delete it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'll give you the results here in a second.
Okay,
But keep on going on that.
so Loop is agnostic. It's not Google, it's not everything. And what you can do is anybody from any phone or Facebook or anything can just load into it and the family can chat, and it's a private channel. That's a beautiful solution. I don't have to have a base at another location. I can use my phone and go directly to it, and it's still secure. I can video chat and still secure. So let's see here. Wow, so this is fantastic, a 70-30 split. If usually when the audience is younger, I get a really heavy on the iPhone, especially with the United States. When I travel, almost everybody is an Android based. So one of the things that I find is that if you're an iPhone user and we want a video chat, this is before Zoom, all the COVID, they would say, let's FaceTime. And I would say, I can't FaceTime. And then it's like, I'm an idiot. And they then look at like, I don't know how to talk to you. Like, and I'm like, well, we could Skype, we could WeChat, we could WhatsApp. There's a lot of different other things that we can do. So I think picking something that's a little more universal is helpful. I do understand that when you're a senior, reducing the amount of buttons, the channels and that, but just like the Loop, if the senior doesn't have to figure it out and everybody else gets to use whatever platform they have, I think that's the best, most positive way you can do it. And then, Zoom really has been fantastic. We've hosted a bunch of family events. We played games. So, you can use anything like that.
Yeah, and we got a few people who are raising their hands, so I'm going to bring Sylvia on. But while she's getting on, Zoom has sort of become the iPhone of conferencing. And what I found is that when I throw another platform up there, it's kind of like your example there with, I don't know how to use this, I can't get it. But there's good things about that too.
Right,
but you need
100%.
more agnostic type stuff.
Yeah, there's so much. It's hard for us to be experts at everything.
Yeah, Sylvia, you're on.
I'm on. But why? I just signed in, that's all.
Well, hello, welcome.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Okay, your hand was raised. That's okay. Okay, and well, let's try somebody else since I'm on a roll here. Gail's got her hand raised, and let's see if she was just doing the same thing. And while we're waiting for Gail,
I can talk about some other things if you'd like.
And also, here's a couple of comments and questions. Cheryl says, or Mary says, I know someone who makes a great clear mask and she wants to know where she can get it tested. Do you know, like, how do we get a mask tested?
Yeah, it's changing on a daily basis.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the disinfectant shield and that. I just recently got access to rapid COVID tests, and on a daily basis, what they are defining versus the plasma and the antibodies and all that, it's a little bit of a nightmare. But if she wants to email me on the side, I can get her all kinds of information.
Okay, great. And we'll get you Lisa's email and everything.
Perfect.
Let's see. Catherine McAllen, I'm giving a presentation on simple changes in home to prepare for extended telehealth and distancing socially in the home. Can you address some interior design or modifications to fit a lifestyle for optimizing safety and connection while aging at home? Boy, good question.
Perfect. So the Loop product is fantastic. I'll show you another one. This is for safety, and it's real simple, but this is a toilet paper holder. This is Grab Accessories. I think Delta does some too. And you basically, let me move it into the camera. The back side of it has grippers on it. and it can take up to 500 pounds, I believe. And so what the problem is with all the ADA stuff is the rails put your center of gravity behind. You need it forward to lift yourself on and off the toilet. So it's exact opposite of what we need, but ADA was invented when the Vietnam vets came home. They were males, so they had huge upper body strength. A lot of them, they had leg either paralyzed or were not there. So it was almost like a gymnast kind of thing for them, for transfers and such. That right there, what I showed you with the curve and the toilet paper, when someone goes to fall or something like that, they hit that toilet paper, it goes running unless that grab bar is there. So that's a really fantastic thing. Another thing would be, let's see, safety design. Design would be paint the back wall of your toilet wall a different color. It makes the toilet so much easier to see.
Yeah, contrasting colors.
It does. Put a sensor light in. I have bidet toilet seats, and I absolutely love them. I think that they should be in every home. You can put them on top of your regular toilet. You take your toilet seat out, and they just plug in. You got to, switch out a little bit of stuff, but I was able to do it. So now that I have them, I can't even stand it without. But it's great for health. It's great for dignity and independence and safety. And it can have a little night light in there and such. So those are some things. I would do sensor lights for stairs. Switch out all your lights to be on sensors so that when somebody gets up, the lights automatically come on. And they can come on kind of low and then go higher as, the timing. So that's a fantastic way, especially on little steps or on the handrails. Your handrails in the house, painted a contrasting color so it's easy to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then from a safety standpoint, the ring and the cameras outside, it's terrific because you're getting so many Amazon packages delivered. Not only does it capture who the thief is, if I've seen that in my neighborhood, but it also allows you to see who it is before you answer that door.
Right. On the paint, you bringing up the paint, Amy O'Donnell asks, any thoughts on the new Microbiol paints that are coming out? This would be in regards to senior living design and the airflow that you were talking about.
I love them. I think they're fantastic. If you're in California and you're working with Kaiser Permanente, they kind of have gone away from antimicrobial, antibacterial. I still think it's a good thing if it inhibits mold growth and the accidental urine spray that happens, especially if there's a male in the house. I'm sorry, but it happens. I'm a big believer of it. It's one of those things that, how could it hurt? It's kind of like wearing, it's like a safety belt for me.
Yeah. Jeannie Stanislawski has got her hand raised. Again, we'll see if any of these are intentional. But Jeannie, while we're waiting to see if Jeannie's going to come on, Catherine McKellen asks, how up to date is your book on devices? There are so many new devices, dizzying amounts.
So that's fantastic. The book is very up to date. We just updated it again. That's the great thing about being able to reload it up to Amazon, is that when I originally did it, you print all these hardcover books, and until they're gone, you're stuck. Now I'm able to update it constantly. And if it's on Kindle or if you're buying it on Amazon, the latest is always getting updated. So that's the great thing about technology.
And you've got another business, forgive me.
Best Living Tech, and you can go online to that. It's more about education. So fantastic education. And part of this is, how do you move from fear to freedom? So what are the things that are creating fear in your life, either for if you've got older parents, or you're a caregiver, or you're a senior, or your husband or your wife, but what can we do? And a little bit of that is being proactive. So, one of the things is Cardia Mobile. I've talked about this before. The regular one is the 1 lead, which is perfect unless you have heart issues already, is about, I think it's about $100, somewhere around there. And this is how big they are. This is a little carrying case for the regular one. This is a 6 lead. And I know a ton of cardiologists, and they say this is absolutely unbelievable. You put your fingers on it, and it gives you an EKG that's FDA approved. It can be sent to your doctor. So, I was doing a lot of traveling and I was feeling not great. I put my thing on it and, my heart rate was over 120. I was immediately able to send it to the cardiologist. I've had friends that have found, and it's so inexpensive. So being proactive, it actually has AI and data mining in it that about 5 days before you're going to have a heart attack or stroke, it can predict it.
Wow. Yeah,
Which is cool.
we've had a lot of sessions recently on sort of predictive technology, like, and being able to sort of have sensors and wearables that can help sort of predict if you're going to get sick. And it's super exciting. John Butterfield says, this was on one of your previous comments, I believe, please advise which products and services are reimbursable by Medicare, Medicaid to individuals, not professional institutions. The last webinar was helpful. Guests discussed a complex growing list of Medicare reimbursements for products and services. Any thoughts on that? Reimbursement.
Yeah, it changes on a daily basis, to be quite honest. So it depends, for instance, on the hearing aid in that. Cardia is not, I don't believe it's reimbursable, but it's so low in cost. Human charger is not reimbursable, but if it reduces sleep deprivation and increases, your ability to perform, it's worth that. It's better to buy a present for that. Bidet toilet seats are not reimbursable. There's so many new products that are coming out here that it's not a scooter that you're paying $1,500 for. These are less than any phone that you would buy in general. And when you're in those kinds of ranges, they don't even want to go the route. It's so expensive to get those things done. It's better for presents. And then there's a lot of brand new technology that they're not even there. Like this is Happy, and we'll turn it on. And this is probably one of the most exciting things that you can either put it on your forehead, oops, like that, or you can put it down over your neck. And what it does is, you're positive and negative, you're an electrical being. They have mimicked signals of items with your body. And they started this with cancer research, the parent company. But basically, they have alert, happy, relax. So they mimic a CBD, they mimic maybe a whiskey, they mimic nicotine. And you wear it and it will give you that same feeling without any of the negative things going into your body.
Huh. Man, I got a
and we're testing it.
Hey, I might buy that for my my 17-year-old, Yeah.
I mean, we're testing it right now in my husband's memory care home, because imagine the fact that someone's very agitated and you've got to bathe them or toilet them or give them their med. So what's worse, to drug them up or to put on a device like that and hit calm and allow them to just chill? And then it's a wonderful, beautiful thing instead of either zombie, it's just a hard thing. And I think with a lot of these great technologies, like the human charger, he has these in his home and anyone's able to use this for sleep. And I use it when I travel. It's kind of for jet lag and different things. But what we found was with dementia and Alzheimer's, that if you use it and you reset your circadian rhythm every day, it really helps. So
what's that one called?
This one's called Human Charger, and all these I'll put on. These are all on Best Living Tech. But the issue is like, why shouldn't we be offering these things even to loan out? COVID's made that a little bit different.
Right.
But the Cardia, a whole family can use the Cardia.
Yeah. Hey, three questions that came in, all related to Loop, from Ravi, John, and Catherine. I guess one of the downsides is in a live presentation, it's not politically correct to look at your phone and search things up. When you're in Zoom, you throw something out, people start searching. They're having, what is that Loop called? Or should they go to Best Living Tech?
Yeah, go to Best Living Tech, but it's just called Loop, and it's meant to do a video chat between your loved one and yourself. It's not meant for a webinar. So
Oh,
it's a
oh no,
device.
no. No, that's why they're searching it up while they're
Oh,
listening.
okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
Oh,
can I
sorry.
connect the loop? Can I connect the loop to my TV was one of the questions.
I don't believe that you can, because part of it is that you have a secure channel. The
Okay.
really cool, one of the cool things about it is that you can kind of carry it around. So, you know, when you are looking at, let's say my mom and dad are sharing videos or photos, let me change the channel here. They're going to share their phone, and it's going to be so small, or everybody's sitting around, which is the awesome part about like Google. This is our Rome trip. Look at that food. Yeah, there's we're in Petra right there, me and my kids. We can actually, you know, hand this around and nobody's touching the side of the button that shuts off the phone. You know how irritating that is? But
Yeah.
so few people know how to throw up, and I don't mean, you know, throw up the photo onto the TV screen, and it becomes very difficult for a senior. So this is a kind of senior-friendly item.
This is a, you know, shot in the dark. I don't mean to, nobody in the audience wants to put you on the spot, but any solutions for frequent urination? Anything?
Oh my God, yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
So there's vibration plate technology. So, you know, it was invented for NASA, for the astronauts, quite a long time ago. And I experienced it probably, I would say 15 years ago, maybe in Italy, in a fitness center. And I'm like, what is this about? And basically you stand on it, bulletproof, David Asprey has his own stuff, but there's another vendor that I can send out that's a little bit less expensive, and it's more senior friendly. So the plate vibrates and you hold on to it. You're just standing on it. And what it does is it's these micro muscle movements, and you can actually exercise on it. And it's, you know, 10 minutes on that is like, you know, 30 to 40 minutes in a regular exercise because of the micro movements. So anything that helps, and I think HUR also has a device for facilities that's a little bit more expensive, but this is more for home, and you can use these home ones in senior living. But anyways, it basically helps you to increase the muscles in your pelvic floor and reduce urination. So in my mind, this is exactly the stuff that we should be doing for folks, because it you put the bidet toilet seat on and no one has to help with toileting, and then you put them on a daily basis on that machine for 5 minutes, and that maintains your independence and dignity. And we always talk about it, but we don't necessarily have the products to help do it.
Let's see. Ravi Bala says, I've deployed 6 Facebook portal TVs for our parents, in-laws, and even the kids in other cities. What do you think of that format?
I think it's great. I think it's great. If you have the ability to do things like that, I think that is phenomenal. It really is, you know, where is your cost? One of the things that I'm working on right now is with one of my good friends, Rajesh. He's got a product that allows no interruption Wi-Fi. And my big thing, him and I are collaborating together to bring that to seniors' homes, because that's the biggest issue. So any technologies that rely on Wi-Fi, it is incredibly frustrating and almost impossible to have a senior figure out how to fix it or sit on the phone forever with your local provider. So if we can put a device on that helps with that, that even helps what he's doing even further.
Amy O'Donnell says, what are things people should listen for when hearing about new products? CDC, FDA approved. There's so many scams out there.
Yeah, I think it depends on the product. You know, this one, and I was on the initial, the Happy product, they decided not to go that way, because what happens is when you go CDC or FDA, it's a nightmare in a long haul, and you can be out of business and not helping anybody. So, you know, this is about you choose your feeling, and they were very specific about it. It doesn't, you know, it's a thing like that. So versus maybe Cardia, where it's truly an FDA, EKG. And part of that was the reason why they went that route is that they wanted the hospitals to be able to have it and the cardiologists. And if they didn't do it, they knew that the docs weren't going to even think that it was okay. So it really depends. And I would say it's more important if it works or not.
Mm-hmm.
I guess from a reimbursement standpoint, but all of this tech is so low on the cost spectrum. You know, people are paying around the same amount for Wi-Fi. And when you look at how much senior living is, this is like nothing.
Yeah. And one sort of words of wisdom in that regard, because we've all been kind of burned. You're sitting on Facebook, you see this unbelievable ad, you're like, oh, I need that. My words of wisdom to you, because I've fell prey to those types of things, is that whenever you're solicited anything, do a little bit of research. Don't get, too excited, because more than likely there's 3 other similar products out there. And, good rule of thumb is when you're solicited an ad, go on Amazon and search it as well. Because again, we know, granted, you can't trust everything, but in general, the Amazon reviews, because there's such a high volume of them, you can usually get a handle on whether that product is
that is very, very wise advice. Really hearing from folks that have tried it out. A lot of those little ones, my niece showed me recently that someone had ordered one of those little doggy pools because it was so hot, and it came in and it was about 6 inches diameter, and it said for a large dog. So, it was one of those scams that you don't have the context of the scale. You're never going to be able to get back a hold of them. So, look at your reviews. It's no different than an Airbnb.
Yeah. Let's see. Some other questions that are coming in, but you had mentioned it earlier on, and is medical marijuana. It sounds like you've been doing a little bit of research in that area.
Yeah.
Share some of your thoughts in that area.
So we're getting ready to launch our next survey, which anyone that's a boomer, I would love to have them participate. But I did it, I think last year. It was last year or a year before. What I was shocked about was almost 80% of boomers use some form of cannabis daily. So that could be CBD or marijuana. And this is before all the legalities were happening. And the really shocking part was that I thought it would all be in the states like California and Colorado and, these states that you could legally get it. It wasn't. So I think what we have to recognize in senior living is this is here to stay. And if it works and it's, again, better than an opioid, why shouldn't we be utilizing it? And just like anything else, like you said, Steve, you still need to read the reviews. There are certain things that, you don't know the quantities and how you're getting it. But that's, I think, why gummies came on so well, is because they can really mix it up pretty well and very much know what the dosing is. I've got a friend of mine that's working on the micro tablet doses that it's very exact, just like a prescription that you would get. So that's been a little bit of the trouble with that. You'll also see that some of them have certain percentages of CBD, and I've went around the world, like Canada, I can walk in and get it. I can get it in Italy, Rome. I could get it in Israel. So I think we're really behind the times on this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, the microdosing is something that we've got to dial in, because like a lot of times it's like drops on a little marshmallow, which is not accurate. And we've had Dr. Mintz, many folks may know him in the Mid-Atlantic here. He's one of the leaders in that area. And yeah, it's really having somebody that can guide you and make you feel comfortable. But yeah, the lack of side effects that prescription drugs present, it's kind of like everything you've been talking about today. If it can help you, it's worth giving it a try.
Right.
Beverly Bugos brings up a really good topic, and actually, this is Beverly. This is something that I want to devote a few sessions to here in the future. She says all this tech is great, but what's available for low-income seniors. They're the most vulnerable seniors and often the most solitary. Do you know any programs that are out there that might help, isolated low-income seniors sort of tap into some of this tech? I know AARP Foundation, that is really one of their callings, but didn't know if you know.
It is. I know that the AAA, so the Area Agency on Aging, I think that's how it's that they do some things. So especially from a home health perspective. So they help out and they'll actually support. And they have a lot of information, and it depends on your local area. But I would also question and clarify, when folks are spending money, what are you spending it on? If your cable bill is like through the roof, kind of cut down a little bit on your cable bill. I know my parents are considered low income. They're on Social Security. But in my opinion, they're not low income. I just have to be honest. I mean, to them, they are compared to their lifestyle they had before, but they never want for food. They have a roof over their head. They're able to have cable. They're able to have their cell phones, and they have a car. That's not a bad life. And I think sometimes we have to shift our perspective compared to what it means in the rest of the world. And then it's also about priorities. If you can spend $99 on something like this and you have it for 5 years or 3 years, how much are sleeping pills?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, these are mine, but these are relatively inexpensive. And these are magnesium.
Okay.
So these are I'm a big believer that tech is just a tool. It doesn't have to be plugged in. So these are very inexpensive, but this is a great sleep aid. This can help you substantially. It can help you with muscle aches and pains. And quite often, most of us are, we don't have enough magnesium. We're depleted, just like vitamin D. So there's a lot of things out there that you can do low cost. And then on the little tiny tech things, it depends on what it is. But again, it's weighing the cost as to what do I want to do? Do I want to, I don't know, get rid of, I don't have cable, but I do have internet. So now my parents have everything. They have every channel that you could find because, they watch a lot of TV. So I think there's some groups out there that can help you. I also think there's some decisions sometimes you have to make that are good decisions. Like, hey, if I drop this or get rid of this, how much is this worth? Because it's going to be a long haul. Technology lasts, whereas a lot of other things don't.
Yeah. So one very important thing, because there's a bunch of questions on it. Can you name the name of the EKG heart monitor device again?
Sure. It's called Cardia, and they're around $100 for the single lead, and then it's more expensive for the 6 lead.
Okay.
But they're on Best Living Tech. Really, it's probably one of the coolest devices. It's tried and tested. The other thing is we're not moving, and I don't know about you, but I ate a little bit more being at home during COVID. I might have even drank a little bit more being home during COVID.
They call it the COVID-19. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the freshman 15, right, for college. So, understanding, and then I was under a little bit more stress. Having something like that I was able to, because again, look at an ER visit. That's $2,500 when you have insurance. So if my heart's a little off, I check that and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I don't need to go to the ER. But if I didn't have that, I might go.
Back to the loop. What is the cost of that? Is it a subscription, or how does that work?
It does. Oh, the loop. You know what? I don't have all these details, and really, I'd rather talk about a lot of other things versus all the details of cost when you can go to the website. So exactly. I appreciate everybody's comment.
Jennifer Abernathy put the link off your website in chat for you. So here's a couple of really good things on the low cost element. Just a reminder, Maryland Relay, Caption Call, and some other devices can help low-income seniors who need assistive
I
telecommunication.
forgot about caption call. And again, if you go to your local hearing specialist, most of them have those and they know what programs are supported from an assistive standpoint and not.
Deb Merrimer says, Montgomery County is offering low-cost internet services for older adults and low-income families. And here I'm gonna, I'll make sure to share that link with everybody. And
Terrific.
then Beverly says, a comment, my clients mostly don't have cars, computers, etc. Very small apartment, very poor quality food. They may have medicine, don't have cable. You know, one of the things, I think she's on the call today, the Joan Green was one of the guests on a previous program, and she's refers to herself as a tech implementer. I think one of the solutions for low income individuals is having an advocate, you know, I mean, that can do a little bit of the homework, because like Beverly, as you had mentioned, a low income person that is, you know, doesn't have a car, is isolated now, doesn't have internet, their world is even more small than, and the ability to just have an advocate to get out there and try to do some searching.
I think you brought up a good point also on food quality. You know, my grandmother that was Italian was an immigrant, and when they lived in the city before they could afford to, you know, get into a bigger house and all that, they grew you can buy seeds almost for pennies. And she grew her own tomatoes. And then we would have to go and pick dandelions for the salad, which now is a, you know, sushi thing. But there's a lot of good ways to get great food, but you have to put effort towards it. And part of it is education. But there's something that when you're growing something that is so fulfilling about that. And then once you have a little tiny starter garden that you can do just in a window, you can perpetuate that, and then you have the seeds, and it's wonderful.
Great. I'm sorry, I'm just typing into chat that low-cost internet resource, because I got a question asking what the address is, and I couldn't cut and paste it out of questions. Let's see. Okay. Wow, it's 1 o'clock. I got through all the questions. I tell you what, I hope you enjoyed this, because I'd love to have you back on.
Oh, I would love to be back on. This was so fun. I don't normally get the interaction from everyone, and I appreciate so much of your comments and questions.
Yeah, I think we just scratched the surface with you. So just consider, you always have an open invitation. So when something's on your mind and it's like, hey, Steve, let's get the group together, I want to share X, Y, or Z, would love to do that. We really have come up with a very interactive format here, and we love, you know, tech and innovation. So anyways, I'm going to hold off, guys, in sending out the recording and everything until I get the resources that Lisa is mentioned. Yeah. So if you and your team can, you know, work on that, and then I'll
I also want to make an offer. If anybody wants to go to lisamcini.com and sign up for the news thing, I can give you the book in PDF free.
Oh, hey, great deal there.
So just mention that you were on the show, and I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, and then just send that out to me. I'll remind you guys of that when we send that out. Oh, Lisa, do you have a blog?
I do have a blog, and that's again on the Lisa M. Cini site.
Okay, great. And then Beverly Bugo says, my client have tried to grow things, but have them, boy, Beverly, you're really hitting us with just, you know, the heart-wrenching stories. My clients have tried to grow things, but have had them stolen from their garden boxes. Holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, let's help Beverly. Let's come up with a, you know, anyways, all right. Thank you so much. And folks, we'll see you next week. Okay.